Good day, viewers. Pwalpar here. Thought I'd come on here and do just a little bit of a vlog today. Felt like sitting here talking a little bit. First of all, I made a video here a week or two ago about Ron's wife Amy suffering. And we discussed it. She didn't have long left in this world. Well, Ron made a video today saying, yes, indeed, Amy has gone on to be with the Lord. So I know many of my viewers have already expressed their well wishes for her, and a couple of my viewers have asked how she was doing. Well, now we know she's gone on to be with the Lord. So I just wanted to mention that fact. Some of you might want to comment over on Ron Walsworth's page. His channel is Wally's Place 66. But I thought I'd sit here and talk to you a little bit today. Anyway, I sent my condolences on to Ron. But I thought I'd sit here and talk a little bit today. I was reflecting on how my knees were hurting. You think about why your knees are all wore out. Well, when you work for the railroad for 34, 35 years or more, many people go as much as 40 years with the railroad, it is a wear and tear on your body. So I thought I'd mention some of the things that you might encounter working for a railroad that you don't encounter, say, working in some other occupation. Everybody has to walk around and perform their duties and do physical activities. But it's not quite the same as if, say, you were walking on even terrain. First of all, you're going to spend a day, if you're working for the railroad, a lot of time out in the train yards, especially in the job that I was in as a railway carman. We had various jobs, and they all require working in the train yard because that's where the trains are at. You can't work on a train down at your own convenience. You got to go out there where the trains are to work on them. Sometimes you're working in the repair shop, and there's a lot of squatting and bending and climbing up and on and under these cars to work on them. That's a strain on your legs and knees. But the biggest strain I think you would encounter working for the railroad is working in the train yard. First of all, you got several train yards that you work in, the local yard, class yard. Some small yards can be 5 or 6 tracks wide. Some of them can be 60 tracks wide. And they're all uneven terrain. Nothing out there but cross ties, rails, and lots of rocks and ballast. We gotta walk in that stuff all day. None of it's even. Most of the ballast is big chunks, probably about the size of a various sized chunks of rocks. It's not like walking in pea gravel or something. It's just very uneven terrain, so you gotta have some pretty good boots to wear out there. It's a wear and tear just walking up and down the train yard, walking beside the trains. Well, they got a dozen, well, more than a dozen. Some of the things you encounter is like, well, I can name a few. Debris that falls out of trains, like fertilizer leaking out of a car. You can be walking along on perfectly clean rocks one minute, and the next thing you know, you're wading through rainy, muddy, wet fertilizer that ran out. Might be crawling with flies or maggots or something else. Just all kind of debris would come out of train cars, and you wind up walking in it. Spilled coal, pieces of metal, cross ties that have been changed out or broken, pieces of debris that it just accumulates in the train yard. train yard parts, rail car parts. So you say you work in an air job and you're walking down this train. Well, you got to walk, say, a mile that way and a mile back to walk on your portion, to work on your portion of the train. So say you work in an air job, you're going from one car to the next. You got to step in between the cars, squat down, couple the air hoses, look over there and check, make sure your angle cocks are turned the right way if you work in an air job. Looking for any mechanical defects in the train as you go along. You're constantly inspecting the train, looking under them. The constant up and down, bending and squatting is a real strain on your knees, and that's one thing I think that affected me a whole lot, was walking in the ballast and rocks. Well, there's lots of hazards out in the train yard. It could be crater compound. A lot of times you get around where locomotives have been sitting, you'll find yourself walking in this thick gooey tar called crater compound that leaks out of traction motors on locomotives. You get some of that on your shoes, you'll be scraping your foot for 2 years trying to get it all off. Spilled oil and grease, and no telling what all you're going to encounter out there. But the biggest hazard I found over the years was never knowing how safe you're going to be out there. You can trip and fall, bump your head, get all kind of cuts and scratches trying to do different things. But the biggest handicap I think I ever encountered was running into strangers in the train yard. I've told several stories about encountering hobos and stuff out in the train yard. You never know when one of them is going to try to hurt you or attack you. I've told one story. I'll briefly tell it again. I'm walking down the train yard one night, and it got dark on me while I was out there. Normally when we work at night, we wore a headlight on our head cap that would shine. You know, when you turn your head, you're looking, it's shining the light wherever you're looking. Well, I got caught out in the train yard. It turned dark while I was out there because I had to change some air hoses or something on one of the cars. It took me longer to work my portion of the train than it normally would have. So it got dark before I could get back. Well, I'm walking, making pretty good time going back. You have to go slow, checking the train as you go up there. But when you're coming back, all you're doing is walking between the two tracks or two trains. You're usually between trains on both sides of you. And you're walking along just trying to get back to where you started from and still inspecting the train, of course. But somewhere in the side of my eye, I saw a motion. And I fell like this to the side to get it because it was coming at me, whatever it was. Turned out it was a hobo standing there and tried to hit me with a 2x4. He was going to knock me in the head. He literally swung the 2x4 at me. And when I dodged, the board went by my head. You could actually hear the wind when it went by my head. And I was carrying a pipe wrench that I had put that air hose on with. And I'm swinging the hose because I can't focus my eyes. It's done got dark. And I realized there's a guy standing there and I'm swinging this pipe wrench at him. But he backed up and put his board down and said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you was somebody that was after me." Anyway, it scared the tar out of me. I dang near brained that guy. I was going to kill him with that wrench, but he backed up. But he went off up in the woods beside the train yard, and I'm still rattled as Moody's goose, realizing that guy had just tried to kill me. Well, if they knock you in the head, they'll rob you or whatever else, take your money, if they didn't kill you in the process. When I see this light coming down the train from the other end, it turned out to be a railroad police. I waited until he got up there with me, and I said, "There's somebody up there in the bushes tried to hit me with a 2x4 a while ago." Railroad police, we call them PIs or special agents. He goes up there and shines his flashlight up in the trees or bushes and points his pistol right on top of the rifle like this. It says, "Come out of there, you SOB." Well, I was expecting one guy to come out of the bushes. 3 of them came out. So I kind of feel like he was going to knock me in the head, and they were going to take my money and split it up and go various ways. I wanted them to be arrested and hauled away, but the railroad police just got their ID and turned them loose and told them don't come back anymore. But you just never know. There's been lots of places and times where trainmen have been hurt or maimed out in the train yard for various reasons. So the train yard is definitely an unsafe place to be. I'll put a link to my story that I told, if I can look it up, in the description down below. But how many of you are sitting out there tonight doing what I'm doing? I've just been sitting recuperating from some surgery that I had a colectomy where they take out part of your colon. And this is what I've been doing for the last month. Sitting here in my easy chair, taking it easy. I've been told by the doctor if I go out there and strain on anything and hurt something, I could wind up in worse shape at all. He told me to wait a couple of months before I do anything. So, for example, I need to get out and cut the grass in the yard. But just the physical effort of pushing and raising that deck on that zero-turn mower can be quite a strain. And I do have some difficulties with healing up. So I don't want to do anything against what the doctor suggested on taking care of myself until such time as I'm back in physical shape. So I haven't done a whole lot of projects lately, but I was wondering how many of you old-timers out there are doing the same thing I'm doing. Sitting around in your easy chair. Sitting around in your easy chair, doing nothing but just passing time. Of course, we've been watching some YouTube television. And I haven't blogged about a whole lot of things today that make a whole lot of sense, mostly just talking. Anybody who's ever worked in a train yard will know some of the hazards you encounter. Anywhere from walking in mud puddles, standing in water until you ruin your boots and your gloves are soggy wet. And you're just plumb miserable, especially on days when it's raining or snowing. But it adds up over the years, year after year, walking up and down the trains on your knees. I think that's the first thing that runs out on a railroader is his knees. Anyway, I just figured I'd talk a little bit today and take the time to mention about Ron's wife, Amy, passing on. I appreciate you listening in today. I'll be logged in and amount to a whole lot. But I do hope everybody has a great weekend coming up. Y'all take care. Is Pwalpar gonna sit here in the easy chair, push back my recline, might even nap occasionally, but we got to watch some YouTube videos mainly. Y'all take care. Pwalpar saying, we'll catch you later if I wake up in time.